Let's see what people want to debate still. Love you too, Chuck. I don't know if anybody else wants to debate. Hello?
Hello.
Hi. So I heard you say earlier that white supremacy was a, result, or the black poverty was a result of white supremacy.
Correct. Specifically the wealth gap, yeah.
But there is actually 1.79 million millionaires that are African American in the United States.
Yeah, they're from the entertainment industry. White people have been liking to watch black people shuck and jive since like day one. It's all entertainment stuff. Like there's very clearly some examples of black people like pushing past white supremacist ideology and like making it quote unquote. But unfortunately, the bulk of black people, the familial wealth, the mean familial wealth for black people is $9,000. That's just like that's like undisputable. It's an disputable fact.
But I don't think it can. I don't think white supremacy alone contributes to black poverty.
So what did it?
Yeah, because that's what I was going to ask. What is it?
Okay, so I think it is all on circumstances. What they are, the neighborhood they're born into, the household they're born into.
Why are they in those neighborhoods?
If they're able to
wait. Why are they in those neighborhoods?
Well, I guess because their parents wanted them to be.
Why were their parents in those neighborhoods?
Right.
Because they had no other choice. But
because
the people that do go to school and do get an education,
schools that are worse because they're in poorer neighborhoods,
society are not the people that are on this app blaming white people for every one of their problems.
So let's hold on. Let's tell you. Let's take a pause. Let's analyze a couple of things you said here, because you kind of just said it's white supremacy's fault without saying it's white supremacy's fault. So they're in the neighborhoods because they were forced into the neighborhoods during redlining. The schools are worse because they're in poorer neighborhoods, and unfortunately, wealth generates more better schools. Unfortunately, they're in those neighborhoods where they're over policed, and they're over policed because they're trying to put more black people in jail to have a bigger slave force in prisons. It's all white supremacy.
Okay, so is gang white supremacy too?
All
the young black people that are dying of black on black violence?
Black on black crime is a myth. Black on black crime is a myth.
People for all of our problems,
ma'am, black on black crime is a myth.
Oh my God! You really think that?
What do you call it when a white person kills a white person? Wait. What do you call it when a white person kills a white crime? What do you call it? Do you say white on white crime? Do you say white on white crime?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
No, you don't. No, we don't. Black on black crime is a dog whistle used by racists to try to shift blame onto black people that we're the reason for all of the issues that we face. But guess what? We're not.
But what are you trying to do? You're just sitting there trying to point the blame at somebody else.
I'm pointing the blame at white supremacy as a system. If you hear that and go, oh, he's blaming me, well, a hit dog will holler.
You're not blaming me.
I know I'm not. I never said I was. You came in here like I'm blaming white people, but I'm blaming white supremacy as a system.
Problems that are not even directly related. Now, do I think
I just told you how all these problems are directly related to white supremacy.
Do I think that sometimes it is not fair for black people? Absolutely. I am not debating that. But do I think that it is so directly related to white supremacy, and that's the only reason why black people are experiencing poverty? No, because that would be shallow and narrow-minded of me to believe that there is only one factor in that.
I can literally directly relate it. You can be
shallow and narrow-minded if you wanted to.
I'm just saying I'm not shallow and narrow-minded, ma'am. I actually study this shit. I study history. I study the way this has happened. You came up here and go, oh my God, and she left. Fuck, I hate it.
Oh my God.
We're gonna have a history lesson real quick. Jaco, you okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
So here we go. Let's have a fucking history lesson for all the people in the chat who are just fucking blind. Let's have a little fucking history lesson. From 1619 to, what was it, 1864? I don't ever remember the date when slavery was ended. 1865, sorry. So from 1619 to 1865, 200 plus years, black people were kept in fucking chains. Then after we were freed of those chains, we then had things that were specifically created to put us back in said chains. So you had things like vagrancy laws, which arrested black people en masse because we didn't own homes and property. So those vagrancy laws caused us to go back to fucking prison, where prisons, guess what they did, specifically prisons in the South, they rented us out back to the plantations. Why? Because they realized they couldn't keep us as legal slaves as property, so they came up with a fun little fucking thing called the 13th Amendment, which says you are allowed to be property as punishment of a crime. Then they created crimes like vagrancy laws. You know what a vagrancy law is, Checo? Do you know what a vagrancy law is?
I personally don't know what a vagrancy law is.
So vagrancy laws punish you with jail time for being homeless. They are specific laws that say if you don't have a home, you get arrested. So they created vagrancy laws, and it's very specific. It's very interesting, right? It's very interesting to me that the vagrancy laws came about a year after slavery ended. Kind of weird timing on fucking that one, am I right? So then we had vagrancy laws. That was one thing. Then we also said, okay, well, they said, well, we want to expand out to the West. How are we going to do that? How are we going to expand the country out to the fucking West? Well, they said, well, the government said, hey, we have this thing called the Homestead Act. So what we'll do is we'll give you land, and as long as you farm that land, you can have it for fucking free. And interestingly enough, 42 million wealthy Americans can trace that wealth directly back to the Homestead Act. Like, you can do it. That's the beautiful thing about property as wealth, is you can trace when you got that property. So we gave out millions of white people homes, and in comparison, only gave it to like 1,000 or so black people. But that's okay, right? It's okay that those 1,000 black people, they'll do fine. But these millions of white people who now have this massive amount of land, bada bing, bada boom, guess what land does over time? It accrues wealth. That's the whole fucking point of property and land ownership. You accrue wealth. So then, let's keep going. So then we're rolling up on the 1900s, right? And black people are starting to do better. We're starting to build cities and towns and do all of this stuff. By the way, everything I'm talking about is in my fucking link tree. I don't fucking say anything without fucking facts to back it up. So everything's in my fucking link tree. So then we start building lands, and we build wealth, and we build stuff like Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Black Wall Street. But then, oh my God, what about all the other race massacres that happened? So let's just go down a fucking list of some race massacres real quick. Well, there was the Colfax, Louisiana massacre. There was the Wilmington, North Carolina massacre. There was the Atlanta massacre. There was the Elaine, Arkansas massacre. There was the Rosewood, Florida massacre. There was so many fucking race massacres. It's not even fucking funny. That's only a short list. Then you also have things like sundown counties in sundown towns where we weren't even allowed to be in after dark for fear of getting killed. Whoa, fucking crazy. Then we're pushing up on the 1920s and 30s, and we're like, you know what? We're finally at a point where we can start to afford homes as black people. So we're like, we're going to buy some homes. We're going to buy homes, and we're going to do this. And then what happened? Well, the fun little bank boys, the rich bankies decided, let's create these maps. Let's take some maps, and let's take these little red markers and just outline in these maps where bad spenders are. And we'll make sure that we don't give loans for homes to these bad spenders, because it's not about race. It's just they're not as equipped to pay for these things. So we saw those red line maps show up. And who was the predominant group in those bad spending areas? It was fucking black people. And if you would like a fucking book on it, Read The Fucking Color of Law by Richard Rothstein. It goes super deep into fucking redlining and how it affected the black people. And this isn't even the bulk of it. We can talk about the fact how in a lot of cities, what they did was they then started to, so for redlining, we saw a bunch of white people leave the urban areas, right? Because white people were the ones predominantly in urban big city areas. But then what we saw was the government said, well, we want to get white people out of these urban areas. We want to get them into suburbia, right? We want them in these suburban parts of the country. So what they did was they created what's known as fucking white-owned co-ops and white-owned suburban areas. One of the biggest being Levittown. Have you guys heard of Levittown? Levittown's fucking huge. And what happened was Levitt, who was an industrial developer and who wanted to build this massive development community, said, wow, I want to build this, but I don't have the money to. Hey, U.S. government, will you loan me the money? And guess what they fucking said, my guy? They said, we'll lend you the money, but you have to make sure you only give the homes to white people. You can't give them to black people, and you have to put clauses in the deeds so that they can't be resold to black people. Those were called racial covenants. And if you look on the deeds on a lot of these fucking homes, fucking surprise, surprise, the racial covenants still exist. Legally, technically, these homes still can't be fucking sold to black people. Then you also have things like other redlining policies, such as single-family zoning, which still fucking exists today, and all these other things. And then that brought white people into the suburbs. It removed them from these urban areas, and black people, unfortunately, were then shoveled into these urban areas because it's the only place that the banks would loan us money to buy or rent property in. They would only do it in these fucking areas. So we were fucking redlined into these areas. And oh man, now I know what you're thinking. Well, now we're in these areas. Now we can we can do better, right? We can get schools better. We can do all of that. But if you knew about all the little fucking policies openly admitted to by white people at the time that they did to try to keep us down, we won't talk about how in a lot of these urban areas, white politicians would not build trees because they thought that would make black people stupider because we got less oxygen. This is a real fucking thing that happened. We won't talk about the fact how black people ended up with more, statistically, black people tend to have asthma more because in these cities, that's where plantations were and factories. And so our air got smogged and we got more asthma on average. We won't talk about all these other little itty bitty blah, 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 blah. But then, okay, now I know what you're thinking. Well, redlining's over. It's the 60s. They passed the Fair Housing Act. Now we're all good to go. But then here comes little Mr. War on Drugs in the 80s to throw more of us into fucking jail while also pumping our neighborhoods full of fucking drugs. And it's not like you can sit here and go, which a bunch of people do, but Jovan, they decided to use the drugs. Sure. But guess who decided to criminalize the drugs at a rate of 500 times more than the fucking white people? So what they did is they took crack and cocaine, which are essentially the same drugs, save for two ingredients, one of which is water. They took these two fucking drugs, these literally two drugs that are the exact fucking same, and they said, if you're caught with a little bit of cocaine, don't worry. You need at least 500 grams to put you in prison, at least. But if you're caught with a minuscule amount of 5 grams of crack rock, instant jail. It was literally a rate of 500%. So, war on drugs comes in. Our good friend fucking Ronald Reagan comes in. And Nancy Reagan's bitch ass comes in. So you have all these things. Then, oh boy. And I see the comments chirping. I don't fucking like Joe Biden. I think he's doing a good job with the presidency. I wish it wasn't him. I would take almost fucking anybody else. But unfortunately, and Joe Biden didn't start the war on drugs. You numbskulls. What he did is he co-authored the crime bill in 1998, co-authored it, literally co-authored it with other Republicans, and then it was voted on by every politician in office at the time. All of them said yes, and the only person you ever give a shit about is Joe Biden. Sure, Jan. Let's not talk about the other fucking people that actually did it as well. I don't fucking like Joe Biden. I think Joe Biden's a racist old man, and I wish he was gone, but unfortunately he has passed some good policies, so I have to fucking recognize that. So, when we're gonna fucking sit here and go, well, black people should finally be able to build our own and do our own. We've had fucking 12 years, maybe, since the 2010 fucking Fair Crime Act. We've had maybe 10 or 12 fucking years to build it. So no, We're not gonna fucking be able to do it like that. And to anybody still in here that doesn't fucking believe in shit I said, read. Just go read. Just go read. Pick up a fucking book. And it's so easy. And this shit is so easy and it's so out there. And people love to fucking go, well, it's not true. It's all the Democrats' fault. It's not it's their all fault. Do you know who fucking, Psycho, do you know who Lee Atwater is? I love talking about this, man. Do you know who Lee Atwater is?
I don't.
So, Lee Atwater, fucking one of the most important Republicans to ever Republican. He was a Southern campaign strategist. He was literally paramount in getting Nixon elected, in getting Bush Sr. elected. It was like paramount, like it was him. Now, he has a famous interview that he did in the fucking 80s talking about everything he did from the 50s to the whatever, talking about the Southern strategy. Now, so many people love to go, the Southern strategy is not real. There was no concentrated effort by the South to hurt black people. This is a fucking quote directly from Lee Atwater, a fucking Southern campaign strategist who was implementing getting these Republicans elected. He said, you start out in 1954 by saying N-word, N-word, N-word. I'll bleep it because he was a racist, so he said it. By 1968, you can't say N-word. That hurts you. It backfires. So you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights, and all that stuff, and you're getting so abstract. Now you're talking about cutting taxes, and all these things you're talking about are totally economic things, and a byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites. We want to cut this is much more abstract than even the busing thing, and a hell of a lot more abstract than N-word, N-word. There was a concentrated, gosh darn, fucking effort to hurt black people more than white people. And at this point, if you don't believe that, you're ignorant and you don't read. You can listen to the whole Lee Atwater documentary if you want. It's on thenation.com. It's a 41-minute fucking interview. I would say everybody should fucking listen to it. I'm done. I'm gonna have another bowl of cereal. Psycho, please, you can now speak.
Lord. Jovan, I want to say that was very attractive of you. I will say that.